Hey, today, do we have a fun game show for you on the podcast? First, we have a special guest on the show.
Hi.
Crystalina, it has been a long time since you've been on the show.
It's been a really long time.
And super excited that we are going to start having Crystal on a regular basis. We're going to start doing live Q&As where you can call in and ask us anything you want having to do with dating, relationships, life, love, and everything in between. But we thought we'd kind of start this new partnership forward with the podcast with a fun little game show today where our content producer, Josiah. Hey, Josiah, how you doing today? You over there?
Excellent.
Yes.
I'm so good.
Josiah had a fun idea that he's like, let's do a big, gigantic survey of Catholic singles, those who are dating, engaged, and married, asking them all kinds of questions when it comes to, hey, when was the last time somebody asked you on a date? You know, what do you think about this? How about that? Dating, relationships, how hard or easy it is to find love, what's working, what's not working. And we got more than 500 responses on this. And so we thought we'd kind of have a fun game show where Crystalina and I have not seen the responses to any of this yet. And so Josiah is going to kind of pitch us the questions that were asked, and we're kind of going to guess where people landed on these questions. But it's going to be an adventure, nothing compared to the adventure this morning. I'm in Mass this morning, and I'm like, what's going on? You know, Crystal's supposed to be here 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. She rolls in like halfway through Mass. She's
totally
like,
totally flustered.
I'm like, Monty, where you been?
There's a bird in our kitchen flying all over the place. And our Borbal, our massive dog, like a Mastiff, is going at this thing. And everybody's screaming. Our St. Michael statue's just falling over. Curtains are being pulled down to the dog trying to reach at the bird. And
literally ripped out of the wall.
It was horrible. It was a nightmare. So whatever. That was my morning. And then I just zipped to Mass. So
when you get home, there's a gigantic hole in the wall from where the curtains used to be.
Whatever.
But the bird is safe. Dog's okay. Life is good.
That bird. Feathers everywhere. It's gross.
But yeah.
Anyway.
So fun morning, but nothing as fun as I guess about what we're going to get into. So Josiah, can you give us a little, Josiah's cracking up over there.
What is so funny? Why is that funny?
Where they used to be is okay. Sorry.
Yeah, just another day at the office at home. So
the circus. We are ringmasters at the Evert circus.
Yeah. So
All right.
Josiah. Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about the survey, why you did it, what kind of questions you posed, just so people can understand how helpful it could be to hear where other people are at on this whole topic.
Yeah, so I hear a lot about the Catholic dating world, and I didn't feel like there was actually anything besides people saying, I talked to this number of people, I talked to this number of people, which is helpful. But when you're dealing with a group problem, which I think we can all agree, anybody, even if we disagree on what the problem is, if you're dealing with a group problem, you need group analysis. You have to analyze the group. You don't analyze individuals to figure out the answer to group problems. That's like rule number one. Anecdotal evidence doesn't really help with that. So I said, let's make a big survey and figure out what the group says. So I made this survey with the team at Chastity Project. And we've figured out what the group says. And then we also asked married people what they thought the people who are in the Catholic dating world would say. So we could determine kind of pseudo-scientifically, semi-scientifically, if married people do know what's going on in the Catholic dating world, or if maybe they should be more open to I don't even know what the word
exercise empathy for the absolute dumpster fire that it is.
Yeah, if they should exercise more empathy and realize that maybe they don't know what's going on as well as they think they do. So,
well, a lot of married people were in the same situation not too long ago. I mean,
that's the other thing. I did make sure.
Not like high and mighty over here. I mean, at some point we all had singleness, and at some point we all had our own struggles, right? So,
yeah. So I did also in the married people section ask what. How long you'd been married. So that's another thing. So we're able to compare that, see if being married, if you've been married for 30 years, if your answers are less accurate or whatever. So, but today we're going to focus mostly just on what the actual single dating and engaged people said about the dating world.
Great.
And I'm going to give you guys effectively what the married people were asked. What do you think the single dating and engaged people said? We're going to make it a game show. We'll keep track of score. And we'll see who knows singles better.
Not me. Be honest, you're gonna
find out.
You won.
I don't know. No, she has
won.
womanly intuition that counts for more than 7 doctorates.
7 doctorates. Wow.
All right, let's actually do the video. Okay, the first question. So we'll do the questions in 2 parts. So I'll ask you, what do you think men said to this, and then what do you think women said to it? Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
So, we asked. So there was 125 men who responded who are single, dating, or engaged. The question was, which liturgical form do you prefer? The options were Novus Ordo, mostly English, Latin Novus Ordo, traditional Latin Mass, Eastern Divine Liturgy, or no preference. So of those options, what percentage do you think said either the Latin Novus Ordo, the traditional Latin Mass, or the Eastern Divine Liturgy? What do you think the percentage of young men or single, dating, engaged men, that preferred a more traditional liturgy was?
I'm going to say it's probably under 10%. So I'm going to say 10% or less would go for Latin, and I would say 90 and up, I would say, for the Mass in the vernacular. So that's my guess. I don't know. But I mean, you can have, like the parish we go to is very sacred, very traditional, integrates some Latin into the liturgy. So it's very, to me, traditional, but it's not a Tridentine, form. But so to me, it's not always an either or, but you can have it both and. I think that's what, God willing, Vatican II had in mind. But
I think young men that are like really living out their faith, I think and single are just kind of diving in more and stepping up. And maybe I think they're going more towards the Latin Mass. But
so what are you guessing? Number wise, I said 10-ish. You're thinking maybe 20?
Maybe 25.
25.
Maybe that's a bit much.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
I can tell you that Crystalina, okay.
Well,
I will ask the women question. No, I'll ask the women question first because I don't want to give you the answer to the men question, then give away the answer to the women question.
Okay.
So the same question was asked to single, dating, and engaged women. So what percentage do you think said they prefer a more traditional liturgy, Latin Novus Ordo, traditional Latin Mass, or Eastern Divine Liturgy?
43.
43.
Maybe 35.
You think preferred the traditional?
Maybe 30.
That's what you think preferred traditional? Okay.
I would say.
Now, by traditional, do you mean Latin?
Like we're talking.
So the would prefer a Latin Novus Ordo, an Eastern Divine Liturgy, or a traditional Latin Mass.
Okay. I'm going to still guesstimate 15% or less.
Okay.
And she's up at 43.
No, 30.
So I'm going to say 15% or less for guys and girls. She's guessing 20 to 30.
Okay. Yeah. I can tell you you've split. You each get a point for that.
Oh,
so,
hey.
Of single, dating, and engaged men, 42% said they preferred either the traditional Latin Mass, a Latin Novus Ordo, or Eastern Divine Liturgy. And of the women, Jason wins that point because 12.2% of women said they preferred a traditional Latin Mass,
which is fine,
an Eastern Divine Liturgy, and 58% actually answered Novus Ordo, and then the no preference was the second largest answer on both of those. So
okay,
why do you think that is?
The no pre.
I think it's because men want structure, hierarchy, order. We don't want. When John Paul II met with the bishops in the Northwest America once, he said, "You are not the producer of the liturgy, nor are you its engineer. You are its servant." And it's just like, mic drop. Like, so men need a reason to genuflect. And if we show up at a church and it's all horizontal, mamby-pamby, sing a new church into being, and the songs aren't even directed at God, right? If you actually read the lyrics, we're singing to each other. But like, I don't want to sing to another man, and I certainly don't want him singing to me. And so if we get this vibe, if it's just like, we come together and share and care, it's like, I'm out. Like, I might be geographically present, but like, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And so when you get there and there's hierarchy in worship, there's clarity, there's authority, there's structure. Like I said, men just need I think a reason to genuflect. And women by nature are more, I think, horizontal beings in the sense of gathering together. That's what a mother tends to do.
Yeah.
I think men tend to be more the sending out type and order structures. So I think when the liturgy itself gets feminized too much, and there's got to be a balance.
Yeah, and there's nothing
guys are
wrong
out.
if you don't go to a traditional Latin mass, and you're just coming back to the church, or you're just entering back into your faith. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I guess, preference right now.
Yeah, and to me, a lot of people are in parishes where, or to dioceses where the Novus Order Mass is not celebrated with tremendous reverence. It doesn't feel traditional. It doesn't feel sacred. And the music, the architecture, the liturgy. And so, like, for me, the parish that we go to has all that stuff.
Yeah,
and most of the liturgy is in English, so it's like, home sweet home.
Yeah.
But for those who don't experience that in their diocese, they're like, man, the only place it seems like I can find something sacred is if the whole thing's in Latin. So, but yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Questions.
Scores 1-1.
Yes. And I'm also going to keep track of the total score, but I will keep track of who knows the men better and who knows the women better.
Okay. So right now I know women, she knows men.
I don't know.
Because I thought
That's
it was funny that the very first question we split opposite. And so I was like, all right, we'll keep track of both of these.
Keep track.
And before we continue, do not forget to please like and subscribe. Comment on these videos. By interacting with the videos on that, it'll actually show more people this video. And so you don't have to create your own chastity videos. If you simply like, subscribe, comment, it'll help us to show this message to far more people.
How often do you attend Mass? So rarely, monthly, weekly, more than once a week, or daily. So what percentage of people do you think said rarely or monthly? Basically, what percentage of men do you think said, less than is required?
You can go first.
No.
We're going to go back and forth.
No, we're not.
Oh, we're not?
No, we're not. Go.
Oh, you want to hear what I say and then you get to pick?
Yes. Down for that. Go.
Okay, we'll give you that. We're playing golf. We'll give you a handicap of a couple shots per hole. So I would say here, less than 15% are not going at least weekly.
Give me a number. Try to get as close as you can.
25.
11.
11? Okay.
25. 25.
25?
I don't know. 25.
Okay.
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know.
And for the women?
Let's be honest.
I would say
That are going?
I'm going to just go percent lower, 10.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Women tend to be most of the people showing up to Mass anyway.
Yeah. 20.
Okay. 11 and 10, 25 and 20.
Higher.
All right. Jason
Whatever.
gets both of those points.
Oh,
I can
there you
say,
go.
because blessedly, praise the Lord, the answers were 3.2% for the men and 3.5% for the women. So they are
Wow.
effectively the same and both under 5%.
Okay. So now as these numbers are starting to emerge, I
He's gonna
perceive
just-
some sampling bias. And what I mean by that is the people who probably filled out this survey are the people who are following us on social media, watching the YouTube clips, things like that,
Maybe.
which tend to be more interested in their faith versus asking all baptized Catholics across the board. You go to Mass every Sunday. And if it were, that, I think we'd get a higher number to be closer to what you were saying.
I do agree with you. I will point out, because I predicted that this would be a potential thing that not just you guys would say, but people who maybe wanted to say, like, maybe this wasn't super useful, that the people who are not seriously, like, we're trying to figure out the Catholic dating scene. And if it's a Catholics across the board, I don't think they would consider themselves being in the Catholic dating scene specifically. So I think that sampling bias is actually a good thing in this case.
What does a Catholic dating scene look like right now? Like, where do Catholics
that's what we're
meet?
figuring
I'm
out.
so
That's what we're gonna
out
find
of it.
out.
I understand, but somebody's
That's why
got to
you're
have
down
like,
3-1.
oh, whatever. Josiah, you've got to know. Hush posh. Josiah, you have got to know, okay, where, and Jason, you on your travels, where are they meeting? Where are they going? I mean, are they going?
JP2 Trails Wilderness
Oh,
Hikes.
please.
jp2trails.com.
.com. Okay.
No, they're meeting on, the Catholic dating apps for the most part. For
Are
those
those-
who are fed up.
That's where I met my girlfriend.
What's that?
That's where I met
her?
my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of significant problems with the Catholic dating apps, but that is where I met my girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll get into that because we're going to dive into that in the questions.
And do you need apps to actually date?
It's
Honestly,
certainly no.
like,
It's
is that like a lack of trust in God and His divine providence? Do you think,
Nope.
or is that really like?
Can we do that discussion when we get to the apps questions?
Let's
all
do
right,
it.
let's go.
Let's do it because I do not
Sorry.
think it is a lack of trust.
No, not sorry. I just want
No,
to.
I'm just wondering.
I just want to stay on the trail here. We'll get to those questions.
I know
'cause
I'm
we've
the
got
one that always
questions
veers off.
specifically
I'm
about
the
that.
distracted one.
All righty. Well, let's
right.
roll.
So we asked Catholic, we asked the men and the women, what are your political beliefs? And we gave them a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being very liberal and 10 being very conservative. So what do you think is the average of men and women on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being very liberal and 10 being very conservative? And I want to also note before somebody says like, oh, this is a political bias. The only reason I did 1 to 10 that way is because that's how Google Forms sets it up. And 1 is on the left and 10 is on the right. So it made more sense spatially to set up the left and the right as that way.
Okay. I'm going to say 5 for both. I'm just going to go down the middle. Be safe.
Okay. Then all I have to do
Done.
is pick a 6, and I think I'm immediately right.
Go ahead.
Because all I got to be is
Do
on the
it.
right
Go
side of
for
you to score the points. So I'm going to say a 6 just to get the points. But if I had to guess, I'm going to guess around 8 or 9
for both.
I'm going to guess 8 or 9 for
5.
both, but I'm going to put my vote in for 6 just so I can be just above her.
Okay.
That way I can have half of the margin to get
He's
my next 2
manipulating.
points because I'm more interested in the points than in accuracy.
This is the way everything should be. It's about
Strategery.
winning.
Strategery.
About winning.
Well, that's what marriage is about.
We're very
at the end of the
competitive.
day.
It's
So,
terrible.
So the men averaged about an 8.7.
You got it.
If I did my math right, and the women averaged about an 8.
I said 8 to 9 was my guess.
Oh, you
So-
said 6, please.
No, I said just to score the points, I'm going to say 6. But if I had
Okay.
to guess, 8 to 9.
You got
So
it.
yes. So both of the men and the women here answered very, very conservative, which is a cool thing. All right.
That is
now-
a cool thing, actually.
I will say some questions we skipped because they all came in upwards of 92%.
Wow.
Were the questions on, do you accept church teachings on important issues for dating and relationships? We asked about abortion, contraception, divorce and remarriage, and fornication. The only question that had a response affirming lower than 95% was women on contraception. That was the only question that came in lower than 95%. So we just are skipping those questions because they're all up, they're all above 90%. So this next question was, how important is doctrinal orthodoxy to you in a prospective partner on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 being not important, 5 being very important. And so we asked men and women. So what do you think? Where do you think men and women answered on this one?
I'd say between 4 and 5. 4.375. No, but yeah, somewhere between 4 and 5 is my guess.
I'm going to go with Jason. We're going to have to be tight on that one.
Can't do that. Well, let's
Yes,
pick
I
it.
can.
Yeah,
You got to pick a
I
precise
think that's
number.
fair because,
Yeah.
well, I don't have the
I
exact
picked numbers 4
calculation,
and
but
5. You only have
Whatever.
3 left to pick from.
No, on this one, no way. There's no way.
we'll count this as a split because it's pretty obvious based on our sample that it was upwards of 4.5 for both groups. So
Okay.
we'll count it as a split. We'll just count that as a tie. I'll give you both a point, or both 2 points for the men and the women. So the next question I want to ask you guys about is, how important is physical appearance of a prospective partner? We asked both men and women this question. So, I guess, what is your guess on that?
Okay. I would say 7 for women. And
1 to 5, sorry. 1 to 5.
1 to 5. 1 to 5.
Oh,
I would say the guys are probably 4.5, and maybe the women 3.5.
Okay.
I'd say 4 on both.
Okay.
You have to like your partner. You have to be attracted to your partner. If not, I think that's problematic.
Yeah, I think guys might feel guilty about putting a 5 in there because that would be almost like saying I need a 10. I need a 10 out of 10.
No.
No.
Be faithful to them.
No,
You know, your eyes are always going to wander.
Yeah, people get over spiritual with dating. It's like, no, attraction shouldn't be important.
And it's not vanity. Oh my gosh, this isn't vanity, but no, I just think it's important.
No, it is. I don't think it's fair for the other person for you to marry someone and be like, I'm just attracted to your personality and nothing else. I think that person deserves to have someone who wants to be with them and find them attractive. And granted, as the years go on, if all you have is attraction, that's a pretty flimsy foundation. But if you don't have that, it's not everything, but it's something.
Yeah, but you can also
so what's your number?
I told him 4.
4 for both.
And the thing is, you can have someone who is like attractive, not just like supermodel attractive, but I think also just having that good heart and good personality and being prayerful and just being that man of God or that woman of God also has elements of being very attractive as well. And it's not like the outer is always the most important. It's always the inner as well, too.
I've always found it interesting that you will often find very attractive women with average to above average attractive looking guys, but you will rarely find the opposite. You'll rarely find a very attractive guy with an average looking woman. Just in any couple that you see around. If you see some total supermodel looking GQ guy, almost always does he have an extremely attractive woman by his side. But you'll often find very beautiful women with average looking guys with them, which shows how good God is to us. But to me, it's an indication that men, I think, tend to prefer the physical looks and put that at a higher tier of priority than women do. That's why I think we're going to see a higher number among the guys than the women.
Probably.
And it's not necessarily because, guys are more superficial. It's just that I think women's beauty is more intoxicating.
Yes, the women, but you can have intoxicating beauty and then she opens her mouth and she is just a nightmare. This is true.
This is true.
I heard a line once, this is so bad, and I'm going to say I'll probably get in trouble. And it's like,
he can edit it in post-production if need be.
To go eat some makeup so the inside is as beautiful as the outside. Like,
go eat some makeup.
I've got an 8th grader say that. I was like, oh my, not to me though either. Well, no, not to me, but I was like, wow, that was brutal.
That was Archbishop Fulton Sheen said, the beauty on the outside never gets into the soul, but the beauty of the soul reflects itself upon the face.
Yeah, that beauty will only go so far, and then you have to talk to them,
So what are we looking at for numbers?
And vice versa with guys. This isn't like just one-sided here.
So the women answered, 87 women answered 3, 97 women answered 4, 24 women answered 5, 14 women answered 2, 7 women answered 1, 1 man answered 1, 6 men answered 2, 36 women 36 men answered number 3, 62 men answered 4, and 20 men answered 5. So we did have less male respondents, but the men are higher, but only slightly.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I think in a more superficial world, it matters more, to be honest, to women, but I don't know. That can be the wrong thing to say.
I also think, and we can get into this more with dating apps, but I do think that people are severely underestimating. Okay, this is a hot take, but I also think that it is true. Women are less like what you're saying. Like the women will tend to be attracted to other characteristics of men.
Yes.
But with the dating apps, when you don't know somebody, all you're seeing is their picture.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Actually, there is data on this to show that women, when they perceive average attractiveness, they perceive it to be much higher than what men perceive to be average attractiveness. So I think the advent of dating apps is moving women towards a higher number.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Okay.
And I think one thing that might get labeled as superficial when it comes to trying to find your future husband or your future wife is the importance of just get in shape. Like, I mean, that sounds like a really superficial thing, but it's like when someone's looking for a prospective spouse and they're not even taking care of themselves, I don't think you kind of put that as high on the priority list of like, wow, they just don't seem to be disciplined. Because if you see someone who is in shape, probably the way they eat, the way they exercise, the way they sleep, there's dominion that they have over themselves. There's an attractiveness to that. I think if a woman, from a biological perspective, psychological perspective, she's seeking someone who can secure provisions, provide protection, make her feel safe, not just emotionally, but even physically. And if you've got a guy who's just sitting on the couch playing video games all day, to me, for him to say, no, I really want a future wife, but I don't want to get off my butt and hit the gym and, start eating healthy. To me, he could step up his game to find his future vocation. It's not everything, but to me, it's something. I mean, would you agree, or is that just a superficial take? Like, that's something you should be doing to find a prospective spouse that's going to be helpful in that search.
I think all around, if you're taking care of yourself and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, regardless of how you look or not, I just think if you're living in God's will and you're doing what he's asking you to do, if that's taking care of your physicality, that's taking care of your soul and going to your spiritual life, whatever it may be, when you find that significant other, it just kind of meshes. It just kind of happens, because not everybody's into their body. Not everybody's into the gym. Not everybody goes down that path. And that's okay too, because that's just where they're at in that state of life. And that doesn't mean if they're not in the gym, they're not going to find their significant other. But I understand there's a level of attractiveness, a level of discipline, a level of taking care of oneself. But I don't think that's like the end all be all. But obviously it's a good thing to be doing that. And it's an attractive thing to certain people, but that's that genre of people. Yeah. I don't think everybody's like that.
And I think there's a distinction between being skinny and being healthy. That
my
everybody should be healthy.
I was pregnant and she just had a baby, my girlfriend Tiffany. And she said that to me because I was so worried because I gained so much weight and it was hard because I like to work out and I like to take care of myself. And that was difficult. And she goes, it doesn't matter how skinny you are or how you look. It matters that you're healthy. And it was true, because there's a lot of ways to become unhealthy with how you see yourself, but that's a whole different topic.
Yeah, and so physical health, spiritual health, emotional health.
Yeah, you have them all together.
You should be all three of those, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, you should be physically healthy by the way you eat, the way you exercise, the way you sleep. Spiritually, you got your interior life in order. Emotional health, do you need to go to counseling? Is there stuff that you need to process? To me,
a lot of people don't have any of those.
If you're pursuing a vocation, whether priesthood, religious life, I think all three of those boxes should be checked.
Agreed.
In my opinion. So that's our take.
Cool. I did do the math because I opened the spreadsheet. I did the exact math. The men came in at 3.7.
Okay.
Wow,
and the women came in at 3.4, if I did it right.
Okay.
Wow.
So men's.
So you guys split on that one.
I honestly thought it would be higher. I really
split
did
on that one. Well, I think men would probably be less likely to say, it has to be a 5. So I think they're a lot more likely to land at 4, and then with some coming in between, underneath, which makes sense.
A lot of guys these days aren't 5s and they know it, so they're kind of
I don't think they're rating themselves.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm going to be honest.
No, they're not 10s.
Just in the
that is
culture,
another thing.
It's this
when you
culture we're in, it's like, come on.
I will say this, that is another thing, and this is an important thing to point out on if we're talking about physical appearance, is that men are able to more accurately rate their own attractiveness than women.
Oh, really? So men are more likely to say, I'm a 6, I'm a 7, I'm fine with that.
And women will just be like, well, like, I'm an 8, 9, or a 10. And it's just like, sorry, like, nothing against you as a person, but.
Is there like an app you can use to find what number you are? Like, what's the objective?
I think it's just like.
Is there like an object? How do you know what number you are?
You don't know what number you are.
You have to have like a large
overrating. Yeah.
That's just gross.
I think it's just a.
I'm against that.
Oh no! Yeah.
Yeah, the number rating is bad, but I am just saying that
totally against that.
If we're talking about it, it's a. So anyway, sorry. The women came in at exactly 351. So Jason gets that. We'll count that as a split. So Crystalina knows the men there, and Jason knows the women there on that one.
All right.
Interesting. He says interesting.
All right. Next question. How important is it that your prospective partner not consume pornography, videos, pictures, or written? We did put videos, pictures, or written because Jason and I have recently found out that written pornography is way more prevalent than we were expecting. Yep. Jason, look into the camera and tell him to go watch the Romantasy video.
Yeah, go watch the Romantasy video. We take a look at how prevalent all this stuff is, and is it really considered pornography if you're just reading about it, not actually looking at it? Don't miss that video. Josiah will probably make it pop up on the video and click it and watch it later.
Make it
Right
pop
there.
up, Josiah.
In between your heads.
Do your magic.
Look at that. Yes, right there. Right there. There you go.
Yay, Josiah.
Hey, before we continue, we just want to first thank everybody on Patreon who's supporting us. If you want to join the community, just go to patreon.com/Jason Evert. And so if you want to donate to our nonprofit, which is Chastity Project, you can do that at chastity.com. It's a 501c3, a tax-deductible gift. When it comes to the Patreon, what that does is it supports our family. It supports this whole podcast. So depending on what direction you might want to give and support us, you can go to chastity.com or to patreon.com/Jason Evert. Join the community there, get early access to episodes and some free swag, things like that at patreon.com/Jason Evert.
Once again, we'll go for an average here. And
Totally toxic.
so it's a average, the average answer of men and the average answer of women. What do you think it is?
1 to 5. I would say that the women will be slightly higher than the men, but not by much.
Really? See, you're
just
out there
because
more, I'm not.
I just think the guys are more likely to be like, yeah, I'm looking at that. She should be able to tolerate it. So it's not that they find it acceptable that the woman is, but that she wants it to
projection.
But that he wants her to accept it in him. So that's what I'm thinking. But I'm guessing it's still going to be pretty high. I'm going to say probably like 4.8 for the
And it was that
men.
it's acceptable.
What's that? That it's unacceptable, right?
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
How important is it that your prospective partner not
look at the stuff?
Not, yeah.
You know, I would say for the women like 4.8 and for the men like 4.7. Like it's going to be pushing real close to 5. You know, maybe 4.9, 4.8.
I don't know. Women are lowering their standards. I'd say, but so are guys.
Yeah.
I'd say 5.
Wait, 5 is higher than what I said.
So.
Okay. All right. She's saying 5. I'm saying 4.78. Okay, great. I think I got my.
You're totally getting the point.
Go.
It's just unacceptable.
All right. So Jason answered
so
4.7 for the men and 4.8 for the women, and Crystalina said 5 for both.
Yeah.
No, it's wrong. It's totally wrong. I know
want
it's
these 2
wrong.
points.
I'm sorry. I just want to clarify how the game works. Not to.
I'm not even. Oh, please.
To get 5, you would have to have all 100, all upwards
No,
of 100.
I know. I'd say 3. Okay,
No, you can't change.
3.5. Yes, I can be quiet.
It's too late.
3.5 and 3.7. Let's go. Guys, 3.7.
Okay.
Girls, 3.5. There you go.
All right. So
I'll give you up.
girls, 4.7. Men, 4.2.
Ooh.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think
Kinda got
Jason gets both of those if I
Yeah.
do my.
You're going to get most of
Delta
these,
math.
to be honest, because I haven't.
Yeah, but this is more fun than just Jason and reading the numbers to people. So,
That's true.
It's
In
just
case-
unacceptable.
in case-
Don't put up with it. It's garbage. That's what I have to say about
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
in case the viewer hasn't figured it out yet, we
Don't
got important data and
downgrade.
we're tricking you into watching it.
And there's a website out there I've been trying to let women know about called Bloom for Catholic Women. Because a lot of women have partners that are looking at this stuff and they just feel so isolated and alone because it's kind of a sexual betrayal trauma and they get gaslighted into thinking, oh, you're just oversensitive. I'm not actually cheating on you. Bloom for Catholic Women, great resource, relatively new for Catholic women whose partners, whether it be boyfriends or husbands, are hooked on this stuff and they're kind of looking for some fellowship, answers, and direction. So
Why
little
would you
commercial.
let that rot into your relationship? That's what I want to know. Like, why would you accept that? And especially if you didn't before and you had an opinion about it, why on earth would you allow that door to be open in your life? It's just downright rot.
Can I answer that? Well, it's because they fell in love with the person. They got deeper into the relationship. Then it started to emerge. Oh, I'm going to
Small
get better.
compromises.
You'll help me get through this. Oh, we're getting better. Oh, I messed up a little bit. Meanwhile, they're getting closer emotionally and they've been together longer and longer. There were signs of hope and it's going to get better. And then it went away for a little while. Then it's back. And then maybe when we get married, it's going to go away because we'll have each other. Then you get married. And then 2 years later, she finds a stash online and they're heartbroken, but they've already got a kid.
And
all that's what's going
along the
on.
way, there were red flags. And there was a counselor that we were just talking and just going back and forth about different things over coffee. And she said the most perfect line, the one-liner. She goes, these women are seeing these red flags and men too. And some of them don't see it as a red flag. They say, oh, look, a carnival. And they just go deeper and deeper into it. And it's just like, no, a red flag
a carnival
is
of
a red flag. Okay. Yeah. So
no, this is not the type of circus you want to get into.
No,
but I think, it's not because they see it all from the beginning and like, oh, I think it gradually emerges while they're emotionally attached. And then they start to play this mother or messiah role, thinking I'm going to help him through it. And, there's promises. It seems to get better. And then it kind of spirals back and backslides. And it kind of corkscrews where they just get to a point of like, well, what do I do now? Do I just say, well, just get out of the house? Well, we've got 3 kids. I'm going to be homeless. Well,
we're talking dating. We're talking dating right now. Mm-mm.
No, I agree. No, dating marriage does not belong. It's intolerable. It's infidelity. I'm just kind of explaining. It isn't so much a matter of like, do I like it? Do I not like it? It's like, oh, I'm attached to this guy. He has so many positive qualities, but this is a deal breaker, but he seems to be getting better. Then he messed up again. So it's just to me, I think to me, the point is don't move forward in a relationship hoping they're going to change. Freeze it or get out. So don't move to a deeper level of commitment, whether it be sacramentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, hoping that they're going to become somebody else. Otherwise, you're dating who you thought they were or who you hope they'll be, and you actually become blind to who they are.
Or you're dating your imagination.
Yeah. So there we go. There's our take.
Josiah.
Cool. All right. The next question.
Cool.
The next question, have you consumed pornography, videos, pictures, or written in the last month? Yes, no, prefer not to answer. So on this, we'll try to get a % of people who you think answered yes.
I'm shocked.
For,
is this anonymous?
Men and women. Yes.
Is this anonymous? Okay.
We made sure it was clear. It was anonymous.
Yeah, still there's some self-reporting bias going on where you're not going to want to indict yourself.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. We'll get into that in a second because there's
I'd say women still slightly less than the men, but it's still going on for sure. But with the sampling bias that we've selected, I'm going to guess, and this is out of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5.
It's a yes or no. You're guessing percentage.
Okay, percentage. So for the guys,
percentage of people who said yes that they have in the last month.
For the guys, I'm going to say.
I say 70 for the guys. Okay, 30 for the girls.
So if she's going to say 70, I want the point. So I'm going to say like 65.
Oh, that's
so I can have all that range of margin to snag that point. But if I had to guess, I'm going to guess around 50 for the guys. If it were just general population, it'd be way above that. But I'm going to guess 50 for the women. I'm going to guess 25. That's going to be my number. So she's going 70-30. I'm going to go with those numbers instead. So.
All right. So you get both those points, Jason.
Oh my gosh. I'm just tanking here.
So the men answered 48% yes. The women answered 11% yes. So the next 2 questions are, how hard is it you would like to meet someone you would want to date? And that's a 1 to 5. So we'll get an average on that. And then the men were asked. So I'm going to tell you the 2 questions here. It's 3 kind of, but because this is funny. So funny in a sad way. So the next 2 questions were, how hard is it for you to meet someone you would want to date? And then the men were asked, how many times in the last 12 months have you asked a woman on a date? And the women were asked, how many times have you been asked on a date? Okay. So on average,
I'm so ready to jump on the guys for this one.
Oh my gosh.
Because I'm guessing they're totally going to say a number so much higher than the women are saying. Well, I've asked her out 57 times. And the women, I've been asked out once the last 57 months. That's my guess, but I'll let you go on.
How hard is it to meet someone you would want to date? What do you think the men said on average, scale of 1 to 5?
I would say for the guys, I'm going to say somewhere around 4 to 4.5. So we'll just say 4.5.
Guys, I would say 3.8.
Okay. The guys answered 3.9. So Crystalina gets that point.
There you go. She knows the fellas.
I know the fellas.
All right. For women, how hard is it to meet someone you would want to date? What do you think they said?
3.
Oh, I'm going to go above that. I think women are definitely have
more.
Yeah. So I'm going to go above that.
I think
so. I'm going to say 3.1. That way I have the whole margin
Oh
all the way
my
up to 5 to
goodness. Do you
maximize
see
my
this
chances
guy?
of scoring the point.
Whatever.
But if I had to guess, I'm going to say it's closer to 4. So I'm going to say high
4.
3s, 3.8.
So next time, what we're learning is next time we do a game, we need to get whiteboards and make you answer.
Beforehand. So
He's first next time in all things.
No, we're just going to get you guys whiteboards. You have to write them down and turn them around at the same time.
Yes,
There you go.
there we go.
That's what we're learning.
He knows
so we
how to
have
do
learned
it.
a production thing. But
Yes,
also,
we did.
the men said it was 3.9, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
The women said 4.4. So Jason gets the point for the women. Crystal gets
There
the
we
point
go.
for the men.
Yeah,
All right,
interesting.
Now, the question was, how many times for men, we asked men, how many people have you asked on a date in the last 12 months? If,
Men
and this is,
don't
I want to be clear on this. If you are in a relationship, please indicate how many people you asked in the 12 months prior to the start of your current relationship. All right. Because we asked single, dating, and engaged people. So I had to add that addendum on to make to make it clear. So we gave them 0 to 10 plus. All right. So average here, average.
And then contrary, how many women say that they have been asked out in the last year? And then we put these two numbers together.
Well, no. So we're just getting the men. Just the men. On average, how many women do you think men have asked out in the last 12 months?
I would guess most of the guys be saying like, oh, I've asked like 3 or 4 girls on a date.
So what's the average?
That's what we're going to find out.
Well, we have to say
you're answering.
You're answering.
3.5 is my guess.
I'd say 4.
Wow.
You have to go first next time.
So, Jason,
Is
you
it
owe
lower?
all of us young guys an apology because we were honest about this at the very least. We were honest about it.
They were honest.
They were honest about it. It was 1.5.
Okay.
So Jason does get the point, but you both assumed that they were lying, and they were honest about it.
Not lying. Not lying, but no. It's not that they're lying. It's that if the women's number is lower, it's probably because the guys are all asking out the same ladies.
Yes, so we will get into that. We did accidentally prove that attractive women are real.
And single.
No, yeah, because you have 10 guys asking out the same woman, still 9 women that didn't get asked out. Yeah.
Yeah, so the men, there was a 1.5 for the men. So Jason does get the point, but they were honest about it, that they're not asking women out. I will say that this is what's really funny, right? The men said, on average, they said it was a 3.9 difficulty to ask, to find somebody they would want to date, and 39% of them said they had asked 0 women out in the last 12 months.
Oh.
Wow.
40% of the entire male
What are you doing, men?
market
What is happening? I don't understand.
not initiating a relationship over the span of 12
What are
months.
they doing?
And these are the good guys. Wow. So the question is, do they lack initiative? Are they afraid of starting a relationship? Or are they not finding someone who they want to ask out? Are they not finding anybody? So I don't want to start one off because I frankly don't think any of them are who I want to marry.
I will say, everybody's on social media. I see at least once a day, even in I'm not in watching, or not once a day. I see at least once a week, and I'm not watching dating content. I see women shaming men for cold approaching them. And that
cold approaching them. What is cold approaching?
Well, just like you meet a woman, she's at Starbucks, you think she's cute, you want to ask her, you can take her out to dinner, right? That's cold approaching.
Yes,
you don't know her.
Yes, yeah. They're saying this guy was creepy because he asked for my number at a bar, right?
Oh,
that's
an element now. That's a thing.
But there are a lot of more creepy guys than in the history of human civilization right now, probably.
Yeah. That is fair, but also when you are when you are constantly inundated with men being shamed for asking women out, if it's not reciprocated, you get nervous about asking her out unless you're 100% sure excuse me, the Diet Coke's coming back, unless you're 100% sure she's going to say yes. Yeah. That is a real factor that I don't think a lot of people are considering.
Yeah, and the dating apps, true. I remember meeting a high school guy and he was on one of the secular dating apps and he was like, oh, it's awesome. Because you can just commodify dating and swipe back and forth. There's no real feeling of rejection. I remember a woman, when we wrote the dating blueprint book, said the easier it is to ask a lady out, the easier it is for her to say no. And so if you're just swiping back and forth, it's so easy for her to be like, no, thank you. hey, no harm, no foul. You don't feel really rejected.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's in broad daylight, you actually have to know her name. That can be really scary. And so I think a lot of guys like, I don't want to be perceived as some creepy stalker, and I don't want to get my ego dented. So I'll just give it a shot on these apps. Meanwhile, there's lots of good girls out there like, dude, where are the guys initiating relationships? So I think there's a couple factors that are causing this.
Okay. Now the women's question. How many times have you been asked on a date in the last 12 months? It was, the same thing. We gave them 0 to 10 plus. And what do you think the average was of that?
I'm going with less than one or one and down.
1 or down, 2. I'll say
She's
2.
going 2. I'm going 1.
Okay. You're saying 1 and down, so I'm going to give it to Crystalina because it's 1.4.
Okay, so wait a minute, but 1 is closer to 1.4.
You said 1 and down. You can't pick.
I know. We all heard it.
Okay, that's fine.
If you just picked 1, you would have gotten it, but you've specified less than 1.
did.
For a point.
Specification to get out.
So, all right. So they said 1.4, and the women 43% of 43.7. So basically 44% of women said they had not been asked on a date in the last 12 months.
Ouch.
I will say the number for 10 plus for women is way higher. And there is a Pareto distribution here where it gets like, it goes down, like it goes down. Like there's only 4
like
women said they'd been asked out. Only 4 women said they'd been asked out 5 times. Only 1 woman said she'd been asked out 6 times. Only 1 woman said she'd been asked out 7 times. Only 1 woman said she'd been asked out 8 times. And then 5 women said they'd been asked out 10 or more times. So I think what we did is accidentally prove that there are attractive women.
Yeah.
So, but I'll let you guys do this analysis, but I will say, and I've asked a couple women when I saw this 0 number being so high for the women, because my initial reaction was like, what is going on there? But I will say, if this is largely on the guys for not initiating, but it's also not 100% on them, because if you're not being asked out at all in 12 months, then you might be something you're doing. If you haven't been asked out a single time in a year, there's probably something you could be doing
wrong.
better too. Yeah, you could be doing something better.
Yes. And this is why I think it's helpful to look at what does the other person value. Like, does a woman value a man who has ambition, that's building a career, that can secure resources, that has a job, that has direction in his life and prayer? Like if those things are valuable to a woman for a man to possess, then a man who's seeking a wife should aim to get his life in order in those ways if he's serious about wanting to find a wife. And so that's why I think it's fruitful for the woman to ask, well, what's important to a guy when it comes to relationships? And am I actually pursuing those things, or just doing what I feel like doing without any regard for what's going to get a little more interest going in my direction? Does that make sense? Or does that make me a horrible sexist person?
What do you guys think about the constant... I don't want to figure out a way to say this without sounding like...
Well, just say it.
What do you think? Do you think there's a way in which the constant preaching of modesty and never preaching of do also look beautiful is started to make women feel uncomfortable trying to look beautiful in public in a way that men would find attractive?
I don't think it's about being uncomfortable. At the end of the day, a woman knows if, one, she's being immodest, right? She's going overboard. And I had those days in my life back before my conversion where I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, is this too tight? Is this too this? Or is this too that? Well, it was. I answered my own question, right? And I've said that before. Self-care is really important. It is something that I think everybody should be doing. If you're a man or if you're a woman, you should be taking care of yourself and your physicality. And when it comes to women, there's something about when you do take care of yourself, when you do your hair, you put on the nice clothes you like and you put the makeup on and you go out, there's a little bit more confidence in that, right? Because you feel confident in how you're presenting yourself to the world. And we want to make Catholic look good. I am not some frumpy stay-at-home mom who wears long, frumpy skirts and I'm completely just wrecked because my life is so overwhelming because we have 8 kids and I can't handle my own life and I can't handle just brushing my hair in the morning. That's not how my life is, You want to show up, but you want to show up not just for the world, you want to show up for God and honor him in your day in and your day out. And how we present ourselves matters. This is not about vanity. This is not about caring too much about how I look and becoming so self-focused. It's about just your femininity and showing the world the beauty of how God has made you as a woman and not being ashamed of that or somehow it's too much, because I just don't think it is. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a holy thing to take care of oneself. Now, can you be over the top? Can you get too much into it? Can it become vain, especially in this world where everyone is all about their looks? Absolutely. There's a balance in that. But deep down, everybody knows what they should be doing and not doing. And even when it comes to these dating apps and all these questions Josiah is asking us, it's really shocking, because I feel like there's such a factor missing in kind of the dating realm, and just even as a person right now in this day and age, like, why are you here? Why are you here? Why does God have you here right now in this time and in this day and age, in this moment? Because you have a purpose, you have a plan, and it's not just to find that significant other so you feel significant in your own life. I mean, are you able to even have a conversation with the opposite sex without thinking, oh, is he the one? Is she the one? Is this it? I mean, I used to live like that and being so distracted by finding fulfillment in finding that significant other
until she found me.
Till I found Jason.
I'm kidding.
But it's like, enough already. I know you're lonely. I know you want that person. I know you want kids. I know you have these longings for that person, right? But at the end of the day, where's God in all of that? Where does God fit in your life right now? That's a problem, probably. Because if you're alone and you're isolated and you're on a Catholic dating app, just constantly scrolling and looking to know, yes, this, that, that's a problem. How much time are you spending in front of Jesus? How much time are you spending in front of the Eucharist? I mean, that's a question to be asking yourself and taking some self-reflection.
Yeah, and one of the things that she mentioned stuck out to me is that, we can go overboard in terms of I think we tend to develop in ourselves the things that we hope to find in the other. And so if you've got a guy who wants really supermodel, well, then I'm going to go to the gym myself. I'm going to work out endlessly. But is that really what she's looking for? Like, maybe she's looking for a man of service that actually cares about the poor, who's interesting, who knows a couple languages, can play an instrument, has a sense of humor and ambition in his life. But he's so busy thinking of physical, he's not really thinking of what is it she's looking for in a man. And so I think we need to take a little step back and maybe am I so focused on developing in myself the things I want in the other, instead of actually thinking about what would the other want to find in me? But I think being able to step back instead of just delivering that love language that we desire, thinking of the other might get us to the destination a little bit faster. But moving on, next question. And before we go on to the next question, want to invite you to go to jp2trails.com, sign up for one of our hikes we've got coming up. We got all kinds of different hikes for all kinds of different ability levels. Just go to jp2trails.com.
All right. How open are you to meeting someone online? What do you think the men's average answer was?
Oh.
Of how open they are to meeting someone online?
I think people are becoming increasingly open to it, and I think that's a good thing, because a lot of people are not.
1 to 5.
1 to 5? I would say guys, I would imagine unfortunately so many are already looking at women online that it's not a far transition to be like, I should stop looking at the bad kind of pictures of women. I want to start looking at for good women. So I think it's going to be pretty high. I'm going to say 4.5-ish. And for the women, I'd say just a smidge below that, 4.3.
I'd say 4.9 for the men, for sure.
And for the women?
I'd say a 4.
Okay, so we're mixed here. She's saying 4.9 for the women, or 4.9 for the guys, 4 for the women, and I'm 4.5 and 4.3, I think is what I said.
Okay. Jason, you get both of those points because you're both well over.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So men were a 3.
Okay.
On average, and women were a 2.96, so a 3. They both averaged 3.
Okay, so she gets the second point then, but she said 4 for women, right?
Yeah.
And I said just okay. So we split that one.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense that women are a little more hesitant to who's the stranger online that I'm meeting. I think there's a little more fear there, whereas guys might feel like you're shopping for a wife online. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing to use, because I don't want to go on record and say, because look, I don't believe in online dating, but I do believe in online meeting, because dating has to take place in person. But you could meet somebody online.
What's the time limit on that?
Well, I mean, if you meet someone, it seems like a great fit and they live in Abu Dhabi and there's like no remote chance they're going to live in your zip code in the next, 3 presidencies, then, don't get your heart too invested. But, I think, meet and then say, okay, is it even reasonable that one of us could relocate and have a future?
Yeah, there needs to be a
other?
time limit on that, because I have talked with women and they've let it go on for so long, and they've invested so much time and so much emotional energy in texting and these calls, and they're never going to be together. And it's just this emotional, almost fake boyfriend that you have, that you're never going to get to that end result of actually being with them.
We met at a chastity conference in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And then really hit it off as friends, but then she moved back to Denver. I moved back to California, and we had a year of just not seeing each other in person and just kind of keeping in touch on and off. And then eventually it became clear that, okay, this is kind of heading somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't move from my job at San Diego, but she had the ability to have more freedom in where she lived. And she moved out to San Diego. So we could discern in person this vocation. So to me, that's the key. What's the reasonableness of the prospect of us discerning in person? That's to me the most important thing.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Last question.
Okay.
How many dating apps have you tried total in your life? We gave them options from 1 to 10.
I would say the guys, I think it's going to be pretty low. I would say for the guys, maybe 3, and for the women, 1 or 2.
I'd say the guys 4, the women 5.
All right. Jason gets both of those points.
He just demolished me. I know.
What's the total
The
number?
men answered 2 on average for the men.
Okay.
1.6 on average for the women.
And ones that, and just a note on Catholic dating stuff, I would say stay away from Tinder and all that junk. You've got, Catholic Match, Catholic Singles, Ave Maria Singles, CatholicChemistry.com. Check these things out. And the way they typically work, what I've found talking to singles, the bigger the dating pool, Catholic Match, Catholic Singles, you're going to get a greater disparity on the level of devotion for the people on that platform. We're like, I'm Catholic. Oh, me too. When was the last time I went to church? I think I was baptized when I was like 8 weeks old. And that's like, okay, you're Catholic, but are you just like bride shopping for someone who's a Catholic? You're just looking for a trad wife, and I'll go here, even though I have no faith myself. Whereas the smaller dating apps might not have as much of a size pool. It's more concentrated in terms of people who value their faith. And so the smaller ones, Ave Maria Singles and Catholic Chemistry, tend to have a smaller number of people, but more devout. Bigger one, you can find devout people there, but it's a mixed bag. And so you've got to be prudent, because there's some people on those bigger platforms that could be seriously problematic. And I've heard horror stories, even among those who promote themselves as, oh, yes, I go to this type of liturgy and I'm this and that. And they meet in person. It's like, holy cow, you are repressing so much junk and hiding it under this religiosity. It's just scary. So just be prudent in how you use these things, and be smart. Maybe start on a group date if it's your first meeting. Yeah, I'd like to meet you, and I'll have my roommate. You bring a friend too, just so that you're safe. But I don't want to write these things off completely, because I know some awesome married Catholic couples who met each other through those platforms. So I think we need to not throw away the baby with the bathwater. There's good stuff here. A lot of people are having a hard time finding their future spouse in their workplace, or their gym, or their community. And that's why technology is a blessing and a curse. So just be prudent about it, use it wisely, and hopefully it can lead you closer to your vocation. So that's my take.
Discern everything. Just discern,
Yeah. Okay, so that's all the questions that we got. I think what we learned from that is that Crystal understands men in a unique way, and I understand women in a different way. But really interesting data. And I think there's a benefit of having a sampling bias, because the people we polled on this were the people most interested in following the church's teachings on dating, relationships, sexuality. And so I think this will give you a good inside glimpse of what those people are thinking. But I'd encourage the guys wrapping this thing up, risk initiate. Women, make yourselves available out there and just continue to trust in God. I know sometimes it feels like a desert in singleness of like, okay, God, if you're all powerful, then what gives here? All I want is a holy vocation. And so don't despair. Don't settle for false consolations. Keep your hope in God. Trust him with your heart and also with your body. Any last thoughts?
We'll be praying for you.
God bless you guys.